Hi everybody, thank you so much for joining our Ask Me Anything session for the second Velocity programme of 2021 starting in September. We really appreciate you joining us this evening. I'm Abby, the events coordinator for the Melbourne Entrepreneurial Centre. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the country from where I'm speaking, Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. I pay respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders here today. And wherever you may be around Victoria and across Australia, I encourage you to reflect on the traditional custodians of the land on which you are on. Okay, so a little bit about today. This Ask Me Anything session will give you an opportunity to hear what Velocity is like from somebody who has been through the programme. Today we are joined by David Titau, who was part of the Velocity programme at the start of 2021. To kick off, we'll share some information about Velocity to help you with your application. Then we'll open it up to the audience and kick off questions, which is what you're all here for. And just a couple of housekeeping things. Please keep your microphone on mute unless you're speaking, and please be aware that this session is being recorded. I would like to give a warm welcome to the Velocity Programme Manager, Adelaide Mutinda, to give you a rundown of Velocity and how to apply.
Thanks, Abby. Hi, everyone. Welcome again to this session. So happy for you to join us on this evening. So as Abby said, we're just going to spend some time talking about Velocity. And instead of just, want this to be an interactive session, so please feel free to, ask questions. And we'd also love to know a little bit about you. So, I guess to start off, I'll just open it up and see if, a few of you want to introduce yourselves or even let us know what you hope to get from this session, just, to get a sense of who's online and how you want us to support you through this session. So for the few courageous ones who want to kick off, here's your opportunity to do so. So we'd love to hear more about, some of you who are online and what you're hoping to get out of this session today.
Hi everyone, I'm Arun. I'm just here because I'm curious as to how this program works. We do have a small startup, but it's in the services sector, but we are getting into product development and just wondering how this program works and if there's an opportunity for us to get some benefit out of that. Thank you.
Amazing.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Hi, Mackenzie, you go.
Hey, I'm Mackenzie. So I'm one of the the University of Melbourne Startup Pitch Competition winners with our startup plot. So we're joining the program coming up in September, but I wanted to come along and see what the program was about and meet someone from the previous cohort. So nice to meet you all and looking forward to it.
Thanks, Mackenzie. And my video is off because my internet is really bad, so it'll go on and off. And hopefully, this will help me stay on until the end of the session. Great, Mackenzie, lovely to have you. Catalina, I see your hand is up.
Hello. My name is Catalina, and I just consolidated some soul trading that I've done in the past. And I'm kind of putting everything together in a business offering master of ceremonies, facilitation, and mentoring. So I've been to the MAP sessions like before, information sessions, but it's been a while. So I just want to reconnect with the program, see what it is about, and see if maybe I should apply for it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And then Amanda put on the chat, she's early stage founder of Guida Health, wants to hear more about the program in regards to the best stage in the journey to be in order to maximize benefits from the program. Great. Anyone else before we close off this round? Okay, no worries. Then so we'll just jump right into it. So this session is, Amanda says 3 kids and a dog in the background. No worries. So yeah, through the session, we're hopefully gonna dig into all those things that you want to know about, more about the program, what the program is like, and then David will also talk a little bit about his experience from as a founder. I'm gonna try and share my screen. I don't know if this will ruin my internet, but if it does, let's hope it doesn't. And then let's see how that goes. Okay, can everyone see that? No, I can't see anyone, so I'm just gonna assume you can see my screen.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, silence must mean it's fine. So yeah, just a little bit of an overview. We started the Velocity program in 2016. The Velocity program is part of the Melbourne Entrepreneurial Centre, which includes the Melbourne Accelerator Program, MAP, and also TRAM, and Innovate Aid. And so the Velocity program, we started it so that we could support, more early stage high potential founders across the ecosystem, because when we had only the Accelerator program, which is our older flagship program, we used to get lots of applications, but we couldn't obviously support everyone because it's a program that only allows 10 startups. And so we wanted to support more startups across the ecosystem, and that's why we began Velocity. Since we began, we've supported over 190 founders, who have created over 100 startups. Over 50% are in emerging technologies, and over 60% are still in operation. So that's pretty cool. Some of the other outcomes, all the startups that we've supported have gone on to raise funding up to $8.9 million. They've generated revenue of up to $6.4 million and created more than 200 jobs. So they're doing amazing work across our ecosystem. The Velocity program is also, a strong pathway to other accelerator programs across Victoria. Like I said, some of the startups go on into the accelerator program. Some go into other programs like Scalata Ventures, the MedTech Actuator, Civic Labs, and all these other programs that you can see on the screen. Some of the other achievements that our startups have gone on to have, some of them have been included in the Forbes 30 and top 30 under 30. That there is the co-founder and CEO of Navi Technologies that went through Velocity recently. Then we have Namunu, who went through Velocity as well and went on to win the Maya Innovation Fellowship. Another benefit of the Velocity program is the exposure that the program affords to the participants. So one of the highlights is the Velocity Showcase, which happens at the end of the program. And also being involved in other events across the ecosystem, including the Melbourne Entrepreneurial Gala. So obviously all these events were really well attended before COVID, and they're still well attended, but yeah, we are looking forward to when we can come back to in-person programs. So right now the Velocity September program, which is the next cohort, is planned to be in person. So again, that'll be an opportunity for us to connect in person with the community, the ecosystem community. And so unless COVID happens again and we go back into lockdown, it is going to be an in-person program. So we are super excited, about being able to connect again face to face. Another thing that we really value is impact. So we also try to provide a lot of support to specifically ventures that have a social impact. So even, for example, you'll hear today from David, and David's startup is a social impact. Some of the startups that we've supported, have placed really well in competitions that we've put across, and they've gone on to be global finalists and receive achievements all over the world. The other thing is our strength in diversity. So the Velocity program, the founders, 52% of them have been female. And like I said, strong impact focused. So 48% of startups have an impact focus. So to explain a little bit more about the Velocity program, it is also a part-time program. So it's the difference between that and the Accelerator program, which is a full-time 5-month program. The Velocity program is also a part-time program. So that's another benefit to founders who might not have the capacity to take on a full-time program. So it's part-time, it's a 10-week program. and it helps founders speed up their search for problem solution fit and discover their first customers. So a lot of you were keen to know the stage at which you should apply for Velocity. And yeah, I think really early stage. So if you're, ideation stage, you're thinking about how to get that first customer, or you've just gotten your first customer, that's the stage where Velocity can really kind of, help you speed up that process. The Velocity program is centered around these 10 structured workshops. So it's a 10-week program. There's 10 structured workshops. There's mentoring from entrepreneurs across the MAP community and experts as well from the ecosystem who support the program. Moving on, the other thing that I think I want to highlight is just some key dates for the September cohort. So obviously applications are now open. They've been open from July to August, and they'll close on August 8th. So if you are thinking of applying, it's a really good time to reflect a bit more and prepare and put in that application before applications close on the 8th, which is a Sunday, and they'll close at midnight. Then in August, after that, we have selections, and the selection process is a 2-stage process. So the first one, we'll just review all the online applications. And then after that, we will invite the shortlisted startups. So generally we look to shortlist about 35 to 40 startups. They all go to an interview with a MAP team. And then the final cohort is selected from that. So all that happens in August. And then between September and November, we have the program. So the program is every Thursday. The workshops are every Thursday from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And then they're structured around different topics, but very much geared towards, like I said, customer discovery, business model canvas, validating your product. And then the program ends in November with that showcase. So that's going to be happening on November 25th. And don't worry about kind of remembering all the dates. Like, we'll send through this slide deck so you can review as well. So just a little bit more about the program. So like I said, we have the workshops every Thursday evenings. Then we have mentoring, there's the showcase. Hopefully it's not going to be virtual. And another benefit is that, being part of the program entitles you to like a lifetime membership into the MAP community. This is just more details around the dates that I've already spoken about. And it just kind of shows how the process goes. Once you submit an online application, then we have the interviews, then we have onboarding. On 9th of September, then the program starts on September 16th. So this is just an example of some of the workshop topics and what that looks like. It might change a little bit, but yeah, this is just can give you a really good overview of what those 10 sessions look like. So for example, workshop 2 talks about how to develop customer profiles and get out of the room and speak to customers, how to sell, how to create a minimum viable product, how to pitch. You also get to talk to impact investors or other sort of funders if you're interested in funding as well. And yeah, that's just an example of some of those topics that are touched on the workshops. Great. So the next section just goes a little bit into the online application. So like I said, that's the first step of the application process, which hopefully a lot of you are going to get to it. So the application process it's quite simple. We just ask for some data about your startup. We ask about some questions about your startup as well. They're short questions. And these are just some general tips about what we like to see. So we like you to keep your answers as simple as possible. Avoid, complex language. Write your answers down and try to get some feedback from people who preferably don't know about your startup to see if they can understand what you're trying to say. Another thing we ask is that you use your own words and just try to be as authentic as possible, and don't try to leave it too last minute, especially because the online application does include that 3-minute pitch video. And so if you leave it, last minute, it might be quite hard to try to get it all done on the last day. So another question we get asked a lot is about the pitch itself. So the pitch format, it's a 3-minute long pitch. We do have a little framework here of how you can do your pitch. Obviously, this is not supposed to be prescriptive, so it's just a suggestion, and you can use it to kind of guide you if you're not sure how you want to structure that pitch. So you just start with an introduction, and the things that we like to see in the pitch is what's the problem you're solving, the solution, if you understand your market, a little bit about your business model, if you have any traction, if you've already kind of talked to customers, if you have an MVP, we like to see that in the pitch. You can do a bit of a competitive landscape analysis if you know who your competitors are. Basically, what we're trying to understand here is how you're different from everyone else. And then we'd like to hear more about your team and who else is kind of helping you to, achieve what you want to achieve. And yeah, this is the same stuff. So again, like I said, this is what we like to see. And something else that we also really like to know is how you think the MAP community, including Velocity, can help you. So there's more stuff about the pitch. Okay, so if you do get to stage 2, which is the interview process, like I said, you'll be invited to do an interview. So here are just some few interview tips. Come prepared. It is typically a 30-minute interview. So you'll be asked to maybe pitch again your 3-minute pitch and then just get some questions. So yeah, just plan for like a 30-minute interview if you do get invited to the second stage. So do some research, let the interviewers lead, focus on your traction, don't lie, tell the truth. And then if you have more than one person on your team, it's fine for them to come along to the interview. But yeah, just practice answering questions together so that you know who answers what questions when. And then, yeah, I think one that we like to say is just keep it real. If you don't know, you don't know, that's fine. We don't expect everyone to know everything. We also learn a lot from, the founders, and so that's totally fine. And then finally, just relax and have fun with it. So I know that was a bit of a mouthful. And like I said, we will have a lot of time at the end to kind of debrief and ask some questions. But yeah, I'm going to throw it over to David. So David has already been introduced, but David went through our just finished Velocity cohort. And so, yeah, I'll throw it back to Abby and David.
Thank you for that, Addy. So yeah, lovely to see so many interested in Velocity. My name's David. I'm the founder of Linkmate, which is a peer-to-peer social app that empowers individuals to share their stories and connect with support that's right for them. Before I sort of dive into my experience though, does anyone have any questions on Addy's presentation? No? Coolio. Alrighty. Sorry,
I just had one.
Oh, yep, Sundar.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for the rundown on what the whole process looks like. That's really exciting, to be honest. My question is for the interview. How many members from the startup group is allowed to be interviewed? How many people can?
Yeah, so typically we like to see everyone in your startup, but they don't have to come, but at least 2 people. And if more, so we invite up to 2 co-founders to participate in Velocity maximum. So let's say you have 4 co-founders, they can come to the interview, but only 2 can participate in the program maximum. And so at the very least, we want to see those 2 who will participate in the program.
Thank you.
Were there any other questions? No. Alrighty. My journey with Linkmate, when I started, or I first applied to the MAP Velocity course, I'd won a grant at that stage. The platform itself hadn't really been fully fledged and consolidated into a product of sorts. So to actually get in through Velocity and actually, I suppose it helped give us the opportunity to speak to potential customers, to conduct a lot of really high quality research through interviews, focus groups, surveys, connections to potential interns to help out as well throughout the course. And it also really helped us refine the business model and sources of revenue to ensure sustainability. I think the best part for me about Velocity was definitely the sense of connection, even though it was a virtual format for some part of it. We did get the opportunity to actually hot desk out of Melbourne Connect, which was a really, really fun experience. And I say connection to be the most important part, largely because being a founder can be quite isolating at times. You're all, embarking on a pretty exciting and also can be quite scary journey at times, and not a lot of people do it. So to actually be in the mix with a bunch of other people who are in the same boat, you get to actually share experiences and war stories with each other. It really helps cultivate a strong community and a family of sorts. And I've made so many awesome friends throughout the Velocity program, which are friends for life. So it's an awesome experience. It's very memorable. The quality of the speakers and mentors are amazing. So having the ability to actually speak to established founders in their respective fields and investors and different mentors sort of sharing their insights and opening up their office hours for you to actually connect with them whenever you want and ask your questions is incredibly useful. And you get that opportunity all throughout the program. And also obviously that lifetime membership is amazing. So to then continue to be part of that family even after you finish and continue to grow your business is super important. I'll just say a point about the application experience for me, because that's where you're all at now, and it hopefully should shine a bit of light on what's important and what was important for me in getting in. When you're crafting your pitch, telling a story, I think, is going to keep you in really good stead. So whatever your ideas are, actually, whether it's a personal story or whether it's just any sort of, but it could even be a fictitious story, just to at least, create a bit of a fun and a bit of a connection, I suppose, between the viewer and the presenter. I think, as humans, we love hearing stories, and it's a really great way to establish that connection straight from the get-go. And when you're actually doing the pitch itself, for 3 minutes, that's about 360 words. So 120 words per minute is about a good pace to be able to speak throughout the entire length of the pitch. So I would, and what I did when I was actually putting it together was build out a script, I timed myself to see how long it would actually take, and then sort of build some slides around it. If you're not particularly tech savvy or like into design, getting someone off Fiverr or Airtasker who can do it better, who can do it faster, is super, super helpful as well. And yeah, I'm just going to pause there. That's a lot there. So yeah, does anyone have any questions on any of that?
Before we get to the questions, I'll just because we've got quite a large group this evening, I think the best way to go about it is if you pop your questions in the chat, and then I can get to them in order, and everyone can have their turn. So that's probably the best way to do it. So yeah, just pop your questions in the chat and I'll read them out for you. Thank you.
I can see Catalina asked if the sessions are recorded. I don't think they are. Addy?
Maybe Addy, I think, can jump in for that one.
All right. Yeah. So, Catalina, thanks for your question. So the sessions are not recorded. And like I said, the September cohort is supposed to be in person. So that's definitely not being recorded. But even if it happens to not be in person, we don't record the sessions. So that's just a way to, one, make sure that we want you to attend the sessions, because as David has mentioned, one of the most important things about the program is the connections that you make. And if it's like you can just watch a recording at home, then yeah, what's the point really? And then the second thing is sometimes people share really personal things or things that are quite confidential about their business. And so we don't record for those purposes.
Thanks, Adi. And did you want to take the next question in the chat as well from Shiva?
Let me see, what's the question?
Says, my startup is a service-based, not tech-based, but we mostly use tech to run it. Do you think this is the program is suitable for our startup?
Right, yes. So that's a good question, because we do, especially right now. So recently, Velocity has been funded by LaunchVic, and we do support tech startups. And so there's a lot of, I guess, vagueness around what tech startups mean. And so, yeah, just our own criteria is as long as you use some sort of technology to drive any aspect of your business, you can apply for the program. So it doesn't have to be deep tech. If it is, it's fine. But yeah, if you use any aspect of technology to drive any part of your business, you can also apply to the program.
Thanks, Adi. And it looks like we've got another question here for David. Arun, did you want to ask the question or unmute yourself and have a chat with David?
Yeah, I can do that. So David, I was just wondering that, I know you mentioned that you didn't have anything when you went into the program, but, what was your journey from finishing the program to a point where, what was your first step and to a point where you thought that, yes, this is going to work, or, I need to do this?
So Arun, are you asking after finishing the program or before starting the program?
Yeah, just want to understand as to when you finished the program, what stage were you at, and how the program changed your thinking from, saying that, okay, this is going to be my next step now, and then, to your success story, how you actually got to that point.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Thanks for the question, everyone. So upon finishing, we had built out an MVP for our platform and had gotten our first users aboard. And a lot of the, I suppose, insights that I gained from the program were how to open up a conversation with potential partners and how to build out a team as well. So that since finishing, we've added a few more members to our team. We've grown our volunteer base as well, and have a few pilots that we're working on to actually test out the prototype. So yeah, I mean, it's having the program has really helped just shape the thinking behind each decision. And what I mean by that is a lot of the sessions, particularly early on, really place a huge focus on customer discovery and customer validation, and just I suppose customer understanding as well. And that sort of is really a point that should be focused on throughout every stage of your business, because it will continue to grow and change, and it's important to stay I suppose in tune with what your customers really want and need, and constantly using every opportunity you can to speak to them and understand what they want and what what pains you can help them avoid or mitigate. I hope that helps. Does that help answer your question?
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks, David.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, if you have any other questions, just keep popping them in the chat and we can get through them in order. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Kaiten, did you want to come off mute and ask David your question?
Sorry, hi, can't turn my camera on because of the kids. Yeah, so my question was, at what stage of a startup you have to be to apply for Velocity?
Yeah, I suppose early stage, I think, what did you say, Addy? It was either looking for your first customer or around, or you have your first customer, sort of that earlier end of the spectrum. But to tell you the truth, just reflecting on my experience in the other startups in the program, earlier this year, there was a mixed bag of startups that had already a product in the market and had developed a lot of traction and were actually adding another product to their suite. And they're now in the MAP Accelerator program. So there's really opportunity for a number of different startups in that earlier stage. But in terms of the cutoff, I'm not sure exactly. Perhaps Addy, you can answer that point a bit better than I can.
Yeah, thanks, David. That was really good. And it's right. So yeah, typically early stage, and like I said, it can be anywhere from ideation to where you feel but not growth. So just anywhere in there. But it is a mixed bag, because some startups who might be farther along their journey might come into Velocity because they want to connect or tap into that MAP community. And Velocity is a pathway to do that because they cannot, for whatever reason, join the accelerator program. So like I said, one of the benefits of the Velocity program is that it does open up the MAP community to the participants. And so some startups might be further along their journey, but they really want to be in the MAP community, and then they use Velocity as a way to do that. But I think it's just understanding exactly what you want to get out of it. So like I said, like if you look at those 10 topics, they're mostly around customer validation, about product market fit. So if you feel like you've achieved all those things and you're doing well, maybe there's another accelerator there that is better suited. But if you feel like, despite where you are on the journey, you still feel like you need support in better understanding your customers, in further developing product market fit, then definitely Velocity would be well suited.
Thanks, Addy. I'm going to read out the next question, and yourself or David can jump in and answer. So we've got, hi Adelaide and David, thank you for all your insights so far. Just have a quick one to ask. My startup is currently only an idea with no tangible product. We have developed a business plan and performed basic market validation. We have also created Figma pages to help visualize our idea. Since we don't have a platform at this stage, are we still a good fit for the MAP Velocity program?
Yes. So that's the short answer, yes. Like I said, we do support good ideas as well. And you've done actually quite a lot. You've developed a business plan, you have basic market, like that's quite a lot. It might seem like it isn't, but yeah, if you've done all that, that's a lot of work. And so, kudos to you. And yeah, definitely, Figma pages already. So that's pretty good. And so I think, yeah, if you feel like you want to take this further, then definitely Velocity would be a program for you to consider.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
And what I will add to that, Addy, for you, Tanishq, is around your Figma pages to help visualize your idea. Don't worry about not having an actual product, and I would even avoid building a product and instead focus perhaps on a clickable prototype that you can bring to life through Figma or other platforms, because then it's much easier to actually get feedback on that and iterate faster from there, as opposed to going through all the effort to build a big product and then having to go back in and code, and it's just a lot of time and energy expended. So yeah, I think you'd be an awesome awesome candidate.
Perfect. Thanks, David. I appreciate that a lot.
No worries.
Thanks, guys. Looks like the next question is from Clive. Did you want to ask your question, Clive, or I can jump in and read that out?
Yes, please. Yeah. Hey guys, my name is Clive, and I'm a co-founder of Fit Fun, which is a social platform for all the fitness lovers and all the trainers for all kinds of sports. But our app about to finish soon. We haven't put our app on the market, obviously. Just asking if we are eligible to get into the Velocity program. Thank you.
Thanks, Clive. The answer is yes. So I know a lot of you seem to be quite curious about the eligibility, but if you have a great idea that you think, has potential, definitely, like, that is why Velocity was created. So feel free to put in, the nitty-gritty of which stage exactly it's at is not that important. It's just, is this a great idea that we think has potential? That's what we look at. Because there's some ideas that have been, existing for 10 years and there's no potential, and one that's been there for a month but has lots of potential. So really it is about the potential and how you speak to, your plan and what you have. And so I think that's a bigger focus as opposed to trying to figure out where exactly you sit on the kind of eligibility criteria. It's like, if you have a great idea and if you think a program like Velocity would help you go to that next step, then definitely, put in an application.
Thank you, Adi. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Adi. We've got another question here from Prashant. In this time of COVID fear, do you see the program will be able to have face-to-face events or only an online event?
Yeah, Prashant, thanks for that. So like I said, the September program had originally been designed to be an in-person program. So right now we are still going ahead like it's going to be an in-person program. So that means most of the events will be in person. So if COVID happens, we've done this already twice. We've had 2 virtual Velocity programs, so we'll just go back to our virtual programming. But that doesn't, we still try very, very hard to put in-person elements even in a virtual program. David can speak to that. He went through a completely virtual program, but as much as we could, we provided lots of opportunities for people to still meet in person, within regulations. And so we are able to do both, and then just depend on what the regulations are at the time. But we are aware and we know the importance of kind of bringing people face to face and introducing the cohort to each other. And so that's something that we really take seriously. David, do you want to add anything onto that of your experience?
It really just comes down to whatever the rules and regulations are. But I think regardless of whether it is in person or virtual or both, I think there's still a lot to be gained just from going in and logging on even into a Zoom meeting and just going into your breakout room and just sharing ideas. And regardless, I think there's so much to actually learn either way, and you'll still obviously get all the perks of being able to connect with all the mentors and all the speakers and get their insights on your idea and innovation. So we'll just have to wait and see what the situation does over time.
Thanks, David and Adi. I think Adi's probably already covered this one from Harish. I don't have an MVP yet, but I have already worked on the patent for the project. Am I still eligible to join Velocity? I don't know if there's anything you want to just add to that one, Adi?
Harish, from what I said from earlier, if you think it's a good idea worth pursuing, we're happy to support ideas as well. So feel free to put in an application.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Thank you.
Looks like we've got a question from Mal.
Hello.
Hello. Prashant.
Hello.
Hi.
You are talking to?
Oh, sorry. I'll just read out the next question. So Adelaide and David, what did you find the most enjoyable in the Velocity program? what did you find personally challenging or particular pain points that you experienced that have helped you in moving forward with your offering?
That's a really great question, Mal. Yeah, in terms of most enjoyable component, definitely the people and getting the opportunity to meet new people. Even now, I'm working on projects and staying in touch with other founders from Velocity, and it's awesome to be able to build those relationships on a personal and professional level. So that was my most enjoyable part of the program. Addie, what was yours?
So I think for me, managing the program, the most enjoyable part was seeing the startups. There are these moments where you knew like something had landed, and then this excitement and seeing them knowing what they need to do. So just seeing them come together, seeing the friendships that were formed. I think a few people kind of joined other teams and are now working together and things like that. So I think just seeing the cohort come together, it was a big cohort. So David's cohort and the next one, we're looking at about 30, actually David's cohort had 41 founders. And so, yeah, it was just super exciting to see the power of the cohort like unleashed, and what, all the relationships that were formed, all the knowledge that was shared. That was super exciting.
Awesome. I love that. Those aha moments are the best. And yeah, in terms of the second part of your question, Mal, a personally challenging part of the program or particular pain point that I experienced. I think for me, since we're working in the mental health space, doing that early customer discovery and having those interviews and focus groups meant sitting down with people and asking some pretty hard questions. That won't apply to everyone here, but you still do have to ask some pretty hard probing questions in order to really discover what your customer needs, regardless of what space you're working in. And, the more people that you speak to, the better. Obviously, there's no silver bullet or magic number that you can speak to before you are armed with the info to then go on and launch your business. But it does take time. It does take time to actually condense all of the conversation from the interview and all the points into data and actually making sense of it and using that to inform, the way that you innovate and build or design your product. So it's just, I suppose, learning how to be patient and learning that things might get delayed. It's working in an early stage startup, things are in constant flux, and no day is the same, certainly. So just getting used to that really helped me move forward, and I suppose just be comfortable being uncomfortable would be some advice, I would say.
Yeah, thanks, David. I think it's relatable for my situation as well, my startup. How about yourself, Adelaide? What did you find like sort of the pain points or find challenging during the program?
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think another thing was having a big cohort was a challenge in itself, because, we wanted to make sure that everyone succeeded and did well. And so sometimes it does get a bit challenging when you see some people struggling, which some people, did, and then with COVID, it just complicates everything. And so it does get quite tough when you're in there. And I feel sometimes for founders who you can tell that they feel the pressure of not performing like other startups. And so, yeah, it's just always hard to kind of see that and to try to keep the momentum going and to try to encourage everyone and kind of bring everyone along. Yeah, but I think all in all, the cohort is super supportive and people are able to be quite honest about some of the challenges and struggles that they were having. And just to add on to David's point there about even asking questions, like I think that was such an important, one of the sessions is about how to ask the right questions. So for a lot of us, we just assume that just go and ask customers questions and you assume you'll just go and ask. But even finding out that you are asking the wrong questions or asking them in the wrong way so that you get answers that are not actually helping you can be quite challenging. And yeah, just constantly learning and relearning and kind of being open to the process and sometimes being okay with knowing that you don't always know things, and that's fine. So yeah, I think that was my experience.
Thanks, Adelaide. It's relatable as well.
And just another question for you, Addy. Serena says, if I'm unable to attend this round of the Velocity program, when are the programs available next year? And I know you probably won't have the specific dates, but if you can just give an idea of the months.
Yeah. So right now there's 2 more programs again slated for next year. So it looks pretty similar to the programming this year. Obviously, a lot of stuff depends on many other kind of unknowns, but what the plan right now is to have 2 programs again next year, kind of maybe early in the year, maybe March, another March to maybe June cohort, and then a second cohort in the second half of the year. The plan right now is to have similar, like the first one to be virtual, and then the second one in the second half of the year to be in person. So quite similar to what we're trying to do this year. So if you don't get it now, there's still an opportunity to join Velocity next year.
Great, thanks, Addy. Mal, did you want to jump in and ask your second question?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I just had to go back in there again. Yeah, this is for you, David, and Adelaide as well. What's one thing you would do for your offering if you knew you could not fail, like from your point of view? So sort of like, what's your recipe for success?
That's $1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
From my point of view, I guess really being patient, certainly, and not being afraid to fail. In fact, encouraging yourself to continue trying things, knowing that they may well fail. At the end of the day, you're trying to disrupt and you're trying to innovate, and that requires experimentation and a lot of trial and error. So with that means being able to deal with rejection if the market or the customers don't like or don't resonate with your experimentation, and being able to be resilient and then push on and try something else, and not being too married to your idea as well. If, for instance, you're building something that the market doesn't want, then being able to be flexible and pivot. So whilst still being able to, I suppose, keep your vision front of mind, but being flexible in how you go about, actualizing and, materializing your project or your product or service. I think that's really important. And that'll constantly change over time. So having that flexibility, but with a strong vision is super important. But that's a really great question, Mal. Addy, what would you say?
If we knew we wouldn't fail, I guess just support everyone, every single entrepreneur we could find. But yeah, I think for us, it's interesting. Like, even that is not failure. Like, and I think for success for us at Velocity also looks like helping founders realize really early on that they might not have the best idea, and they might as well ditch it now instead of investing, 10 years, 5 years, and then go to market and realize that's not what the market wants. And so, yeah, I think success for us is just, like I said, really helping founders, speed test and pressure test their ideas soon, talk to customers as soon as possible, get that feedback and learn from that, whatever that learning looks like. And so, yeah, I think that's what really success looks like for us.
Thanks, Adelaide. Yeah, I guess that's the whole point of Velocity, isn't it? Sort of so kind of trying and testing your, validating your idea to see if it can float through to through the MAP program or any sort of accelerator, isn't it?
Yeah. It is really, that's just a point. Before you go to market, is this something that the market wants? And we kind of help you decide that quickly. I see we're running a bit behind time. I know someone asked something about logistics. Can you start an application, save it halfway, and then jump at a later date? No, you can't save it because it's just on Airtable. But what you can do, that's why I think if you check on the application form, there's a Google Doc that's attached there that lets you see all the questions in advance. So if you wanted to kind of look at all the questions, but even on the form, you can see all the questions anyway, but there is a Google Doc that you can download and be kind of doing on your own at your own pace. And then when you're done with that, you'll still need to fill out the Airtable. But if you prefer to work that way, that's another option. But if you just look at the form right now, you can see all the questions. And maybe it might be better to, if you don't want to do it in one sitting, better to work off the Google Doc and then transfer the answers later.
Thanks, Adi. And just another question as well about the actual Velocity showcase. Andrew would like to know who attends. Would the Vice Chancellor be in attendance?
Right. So because Andrew, the event is open to the public, we don't know, like, anyone can attend. The VC is not required to attend, but if he or she feels like attending, fine. So it is welcome, but we do open it up to the university. Obviously those are stakeholders and, other stakeholders across the ecosystem. Potential investors do show up, just people from the university, other entrepreneurs who are curious about the Velocity. So it is public. And so, yeah, you get all sorts of people just who want to support the ecosystem come through.
Great, thank you. And just another question from Pardeep. He says, is there an expectation that the founder is solely focused on working on the startup, or can they be someone who are working on it as well as a side hustle outside of their full-time job?
That's a great question, Pardeep. So like I said, because Velocity is our part-time program, some founders actually love it because of this very reason, that they can work full-time on other jobs. And I think even in the previous cohort, I'd say about maybe 70% of people worked full-time on other jobs. And because we understand you're still at the early stages of your startup, so you might have some other work that you're doing, and that's okay. And so I think, yeah, that's one of the benefits of the Velocity program, that you can be doing full-time job, but still attending this program because it's part-time and it's outside work hours. And that's why it's designed the way it's designed.
Thank you. Thanks, Adri.
Great. We've probably got time for one more question before we wrap up. Does anyone have another question for David? Let's have a look. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if anyone has another question for David or Adi, just pop it in the chat. And yeah, we can... oh, Andrew says, I was referring to venture capitalist. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. Sorry, Andrew. Yes, VCs might come as well. Like I said, they're part of the public that we invite. Yeah, but VCs are an interesting one because actually a lot of, at the stage that a lot of startups are, they're not ready for VC funding. And a lot of people actually through this process realize that VC funding might not be for them, but if it is, there is always an opportunity to connect to VCs and through our networks as well, even if they don't come to the showcase.
I will add to that as well, because I found out that through Linkmate that we weren't a good fit for VC funding at this point in time. And we were approached by investors, but learning a bit more about the landscape and trying to develop a bit more an understanding as to the motivations behind why someone would invest and why a startup would require investment and how much meant that we decided not to go down that path. So I would encourage everyone to, definitely, because I think one of the sessions towards the end is based around fundraising, is definitely to, become more accustomed around the fundraising landscape, even if you don't get through the program, because, getting into bed with an investor when you might not be making revenue or might not have validated your product market fit can be sometimes a bad call. So I'll leave you with that.
Great, thank you, David. Addy, is there anything that you'd like to add before we wrap up the session?
Sorry, I just saw Mal's question there. I'll just read that really quickly. Initially, does co-founders setup have more of a guarantee in terms of the application process? Sorry, Mal, are you asking if it's better if you're co-founders?
Yeah, at the moment, a sole founder,
Yeah.
potentially. So I was just seeing if a co-founder setup would be more of a guarantee in a way.
Yeah, so generally, I think there's a lot of evidence that shows that, you know, successful startups do have more than a solo founder. But again, we said we do understand these are early days for a lot of us. And so it's fine if you don't have a co-founder right now, but hopefully there is a plan to fill in those gaps that you might not have. It could be maybe you'll find a co-founder within the MAP community as well, or you'll, you know, put on an advisory board, just something that, like a plan that shows that you understand there might be gaps in how you're planning to fill those gaps. So it's not a deal breaker. It's not like they'll be like, no, he's not going to come into the program, but it is definitely something that we kind of look at, and we want to support you to potentially grow your team and fill in those gaps.
Thanks, Natalie.
Okay, great. If there's no more questions, so like I said, I know there's a lot of information, especially at the start, a bit of an information dump, but not to worry, this is recorded. There's lots of resources on the website. There's other sessions like this on the website too. Then the slide deck that I shared will also be sent through to everyone. And also, if this was not enough and you wanted, you know, more information, next week is our last week of office hours. So office hours are one-on-one kind of half-hour meetings with me, and you can talk more about your startup or your product, or your service, and your, you know, suitability for the Velocity program, if that's something that you want to spend a bit more time on. So those are open, and next week on Tuesday and Thursday, and those are the final ones before applications close. And so if you did want to book in a chat with me or someone else from the MAP team, you can book that. The website link is on that slide deck that I was sharing before. So once you get that on email, yeah, you can just follow that link and book a session. And that's it for me, Abby.
Great, thank you, Addy. Yeah, I would like to extend a huge thank you to David for sharing your journey and insights with us this evening. Your generosity is so greatly appreciated by the Velocity team and by everyone who has joined us tonight. And with that, we'll wrap up the session. Thank you all for joining us. If you have any further questions, you can touch base with Addy or shoot an email through to info@themap.co. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
You too, guys.